So I haven't read this article yet, but I'm going to. So in Buffalo, New York, over the course of the summer, as we saw in the Black Lives Matter protests, in the first few days of these protests, if you remember, there was a viral video of police in Buffalo, New York, pushing an elderly man to the ground with no provocation whatsoever, and he was bleeding out of his ear and was permanently disabled after this incident. And the officers that, brutalized this man unnecessarily just got off scot-free. So let's read. Buffalo police officers seen shoving elderly protester have charges dropped. This was not the JFK assassination, a district attorney said. This was not that complex of a case. What? So, okay. Anything less terrible than the JFK assassination, all of a sudden, charges dropped. Well, you didn't assassinate JFK, so, I mean, come on. Can you really like, what? Like, Jesus Christ. Let's read. Criminal charges have been dropped against the two police officers seen on video last spring shoving a 75-year-old protester to the ground in Buffalo, New York, prosecutors said Thursday. A grand jury declined to indict Buffalo officers Robert McCabe and Aaron Torgalski on felony assault charges. Erie County District Attorney John Flynn said, ending a matter that drew national attention at the height of protests over the police killing of George Floyd. Messages seeking comment were left with lawyers representing the offices. A message was also left for the man who was pushed to the ground, longtime activist Martin Gugino. I'm so sorry. John Evans, president of Buffalo Police Benevolent Association. I love that. If we just call it the Benevolent Association, we're obviously we just kill people for a living, but we'll just call it the Benevolent Association. Like, what? Told Buffalo News, obviously we are ecstatic with their decision. These officers have been put through hell, and I look forward to seeing them back on their job. Who cares about the, innocent old man who was bleeding out of his ear, who is now permanently disabled? Fuck him. Fuck them. We are the Benevolent Association. Such fucking bullshit. Flynn, echoing earlier statements, said he didn't necessarily feel the altercation rose to the level of a felony, but that the state law required prosecutors to bring such a charge when a victim is at least 65 and the suspected perpetrators are at least 10 years younger. Addressing criticism that he slow-played or sandbagged the case, Flynn said prosecutors made a thorough presentation to the grand jury, but, citing secrecy rules, said he couldn't discuss what witnesses were called or what evidence was presented. The grand jury heard the case on a delayed basis because of the pandemic-related court closures, he said. And obviously, here's the image of what happened here. There's police everywhere. An old man is just walking in the location. We're just going to push him to the ground onto cement. These are the officers here. Flynn said, throughout the investigation, video of the shove remained the primary evidence. This was not the JFK assassination, Flynn said. This was not that complex of a case. The video that was taken speaks for itself. Clearly, it doesn't. Clearly, the video does not speak for itself. If you're comparing this to the JFK assassination, like, what? Oh, yeah, I know my client, Your Honor. I know that my client, just massacred 38 people. But it wasn't the JFK assassination. So, I mean, can you, come on. I know it's on video of them massacring 38 people, but it wasn't the JFK assassination. So, I mean, what the fuck? What does that mean? A news crew covering protests in downtown Buffalo last June over Floyd's death in Minneapolis captured video of the officers shoving Gugino to the ground in front of City Hall as crowd control officers in riot gear cleared demonstrators from an area for an 8 p.m. curfew. As you can tell, it is not anywhere close to 8 p.m. in this image. It's probably closer to 1 or 2 p.m. Gugino pushed backward, started bleeding after hitting his head on the pavement, and spent about a month in the hospital with a fractured skull and brain injury. I don't want to show that, so. McCabe and Torgalski were suspended without pay and arrested within days. They pleaded not guilty and were released without bail, pending further developments. Flynn said at a news conference Thursday that the national attention on the case had no influence on the decision to charge the officers right away. All I need is probable cause for an arrest, Flynn said. When I go to trial, though, I need beyond a reasonable doubt. At this point right now, it's 50-50 in my mind as to whether or not it was intentional or reckless. If it's 50-50, that's not beyond reasonable doubt. The analysis factors into my mind, but I can't articulate to you what's going on in the grand juror's mind. Like, what the fuck does that? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean jack fuck all. The Buffalo News reported that the Buffalo Police Department will begin an internal affairs investigation, a development that has been on hold since because of the criminal case. A message seeking comment was left with police spokesperson. In the wake of the officer's suspension, nearly 60 other members of the department's crowd control unit said they would no longer serve on the unit. Remember that? Do you remember that? Everyone was like, oh, how dare you hold them accountable? And they all resigned their post. There was like, if they didn't quit being cops, but they quit the emergency response unit, right? So it's like, yeah, we're going to keep our money, we're going to keep our pensions, we're going to keep our jobs, but we don't want to go be emergency responders and first responders anymore. What? But yeah, so that's the situation. It's disgusting that what cops get away with in this country. It's just, it's ludicrous. It really is ludicrous. It's disgusting. And, you know, there's really no words that can accurately sum up just how horrendous this is. Just corporate rot on every level. Just corporate rot from the top down. And it's just gross. It really is just gross.